Hello, my name is Chris Williams and I am a student in the HUM 1020 course. I decided to focus on three separate points of the Hays Code, also known as the Motion Picture Production Code. Before we jump into the presentation though, I just wanted to speak on the Hays Code for a moment. Last semester, I took another course that traveled through almost a century of films and their significances. And I found the Hays Code very interesting. So when this project was assigned, it was the first topic I thought of. I decided to speak on the beginning, the decline of, and the absence of the code because I personally think that they were the best movements to focus on. The films during these periods reflected the point, so I found them important. And I have actually added three of my favorite movies to this presentation. I feel like they fit the periods, and more importantly, they're my favorite. So here we go. Okay, so first I should mention that all three of these films that I picked out are narrative or fictional films. I found that in the book. Also, I am only focusing on the sex-related codes placed on the films, not necessarily the Hays codes in general. So the first film I picked is called It Happened One Night. It was set in 1934. And this film is and this is because the scene I chose follows the Hays Code in regards to sex. The Hays Code says, I quote, "The sanctity of the institution of marriage in the home shall be upheld." So it also says that the scenes of passion should not be introduced when not essential to the plot. So just to show you, here's a little snippet of It Happened One Night. Okay, so that was just like a little portion of the movie. Basically, the entire movie, they're not married, these actors, or the characters, they're not married, and that scene was basically just to show you that they could not physically see each other because it would violate the sanctity of an institution of the marriage. And so I found that one quite interesting. So when we watched it, I didn't necessarily think anything of the code, but that certainly fits the code's laws. There you go. I like this film. It's called Some Like It Hot. A few decades later, after, It Happened One Night, audiences wanted more variety in their films, and some directors felt as though their visions were being shafted because you couldn't do much in the films. And so pretty soon, many filmmakers were breaking many rules, especially with the sex scenes. And in this film, it was in 1959, it's called Some Like It Hot. Marilyn Monroe's character was a bit of a vixen, I guess you could say. Especially in this scene. The scene violates the code that says excessive and lustful kissing, I quote, lustful embraces, suggestive postures, and gestures are not to be shown. So, let's watch. Stop. So in this scene, basically it kind of shows the decline of the code. Like, many filmmakers weren't necessarily abiding by the rules because they felt like their visions were being trapped, and they wanted to show this these lustful scenes and show this like temptation and stuff in their films, and they couldn't with films like It Happened One Night. And so if you aren't seasoned to watching black and white films, I'm sure you would have never caught on that the films were specifically made within the boundaries of the Hays Code, like It Happened One Night. And in the 1950s and the 1960s, you saw this shortage of rule following, like, the filmmakers. And with the films we have for our entertainment these days, I personally never thought of the Hays Code existed, because I didn't grow up in the society to watch these black and white films, so I wasn't necessarily aware of the Hays Code, especially with the movies that we do have now that 100% like violate the institution of marriage in itself and like the sanctity. And there's everything I watch has like drugs in it or sex in it or, crude humor. And that brings me to today, long after the code. And this is one of my favorite movies with two of my favorite actors. It's called Love and Other Drugs. And though it does away with the Hays Code, it still has to go through a rating system. So I don't want you to think that like you can just do whatever you want, because you can't just throw a movie out without the audience members knowing what they're getting into. This film is rated R, and it is included to show how far the film industry has gone from the Hays Code. So from where a man and a woman couldn't even be in the same room, like naked together, this clip actually shows otherwise. So as you watch the clip, I think back to the first clip, like I do, and and just for the record, there's a lot of cutting in this editing process for this clip. So let's watch. That was it. But this film came out in 2010, and it's with Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway. They're awesome. But yeah, I basically just showed this film as the basically the end of the code, as It Happened One Night was beginning, and as Something Like It Hot was kind of like the decline of the code. So those are my three periods in this time frame that I wanted you to see. I can't work yet. And this is my works cited page. I did have a little bit of help with a website on what the codes of what the Hays Code actually entailed, and so that's at the bottom. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. I hope it makes sense. I also really hope that you kind of liked the 3 scenes that I picked and maybe go watch one of the movies if you have not seen them already. Like I said, my name is Chris and thank you for watching. Bye.